The overview of Mongolia. You've probably seen those epic Chinese historical films about Genghis Khan or the mighty Mongolian army. Or maybe you've heard in history class about the Mongol Empire, once the most powerful military force in the world, where the sound of hooves meant no grass would grow. Mongolia was once one of the largest empires in history, stretching from the Sea of Japan to Eastern Europe. At its peak, the Mongolian territory spanned 9,700 kilometers, covering an area of 24 million square kilometers, which is about half the size of modern Asia and 80% of Africa. Yes, that's a pretty vast empire, isn't it? So, what's Mongolia like today? What interesting things does it have to offer? Let's explore and find out in today's video. 1. Geographic location of Mongolia. The official name is the State of Mongolia. Mongolia is a country located in Central Asia, bordered by Russia to the north and China to the south, east, and west. With an area of over 1.5 million square kilometers, Mongolia is the 18th largest country in the world and the second largest landlocked country after Kazakhstan, with a population of just over 3.4 million people across this vast expanse. This makes Mongolia one of the least densely populated countries in the world, with only 2 people per square kilometer. To put that into perspective, let's compare it to Vietnam, which has a current population density of 321 people per square kilometer, meaning Vietnam is 160 times more crowded than Mongolia. Mongolia isn't exactly where you'll find wheat or potato farms, as the land here is mostly vast, open steppes. Most of the land consists of endless grasslands, surrounded by towering mountains to the north and west, while to the south lies the arid Gobi Desert, where even a seed has to ask for permission to survive. If you're looking for land to farm, you might want to consult the horses. They're the real farmers around here. Because, let's be honest, that's just not going to happen. Ulaanbaatar is the capital and largest city of Mongolia, home to nearly half of the country's population. About 30% of Mongolia's population today is nomadic or semi-nomadic. The culture and lifestyle are still closely tied to horses, which remain an integral part of their heritage. The majority of the population practices Buddhism, followed by a group of non-religious individuals, atheists. The Muslim community is prominent among the minority Kazakh people, while most citizens are of Mongolian descent. The rest are small groups of ethnic Chinese and other minorities like the Tuvan people, primarily living in the western part of the country. 2. History of the Mongolian region. Throughout history, Mongolia has been ruled by various nomadic empires, such as the Huns, Xiongnu, and the Khitan. In 1206, Genghis Khan established the Mongol Empire, which gradually grew to become one of the largest contiguous empires in human history, stretching from Asia to Europe. Later, his grandson, Kublai Khan, founded the Yuan dynasty and continued to conquer southern China. By the late 14th century, the empire had significantly weakened, and Mongolia was divided into smaller states. In the early 17th century, Mongolia fell under the control of the Qing dynasty. Eventually, Mongolia became a colony of the Soviet Union. After regaining independence in 1990, Mongolia felt like a friend waking up from a long nap, only to discover that their old flip phone was no longer in style, and they had to get used to the digital world. Transitioning from a planned economy to a market economy was like learning to use a smartphone. First, it was a bit awkward, but gradually they figured out which apps, or in this case policies, to use to avoid the dreaded system error. Mongolia faced rapid changes, not unlike moving from peaceful steppes to a world filled with mobile apps and investment opportunities. Even though it may seem a bit behind compared to other countries in terms of development speed, Mongolia still retains a part of its ancient soul, like nomads sitting around a campfire sharing stories of their lives. Here, you can witness horses galloping across the vast steppes, while the city of Ulaanbaatar boasts skyscrapers popping up like mushrooms after the rain. But don't worry, even with a modern city, the Mongolian people still embody resilience, strength, and sometimes a touch of, well, let's say, old-school charm, much like using outdated methods to drag new apps into their daily lives. 3. Geography and climate. Mongolia boasts a diverse landscape and climate, ranging from the arid Gobi Desert in the south to the frigid mountain regions in the north and west. The highest peak in Mongolia is Kuiten, part of the Tavan Bogd Massif in the far west, standing tall at 4,374 meters. If you're the adventurous type, climbing this peak could be a memorable journey. Just make sure to pack plenty of warm gear and a spirit of steel. The climate here is characterized by its continental nature, with long, chilly winters and short, cool summers. In winter, temperatures can plummet to -30 degrees Celsius, cold enough to make you feel like you're living inside a refrigerator. Summer, on the other hand, is quite pleasant, with average temperatures around 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, just cool enough for a stroll without worrying about sweat soaking your shirt. Mongolia also experiences a rainy season in the summer, especially in the hilly and riverside areas. But the rainfall isn't enough for you to organize a water balloon fight. And if you venture into the Gobi Desert, don't expect to see any rain. This place is practically dry year-round, but it still has its unique beauty. Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Mongolia, holds the title for the lowest average temperature among world capitals. So if you love chilly weather, this is your ideal destination. The climate in Mongolia is extremely continental, with long, frigid winters and fleeting summers. Annual rainfall ranges from 100 to 350 millimeters. Not enough to create a lush garden, but just enough to keep the steppes from becoming too parched. And if you head to the southern region, where the Gobi Desert lies, don't expect any rain, as it's nearly non-existent throughout the year. But at least you'll have the chance to see camels wandering across the sand. 4. Politics. Mongolia is currently a semi-presidential democratic republic. The president is elected directly, and the people also choose representatives for the National Great Khural, parliament. The president appoints the prime minister and the cabinet based on the prime minister's recommendations. The Mongolian constitution guarantees several freedoms, including freedom of speech and religion. This country has a few major political parties, with the Mongolian People's Party and the Democratic Party being the most prominent. Elections are a bit like a contest to see who can ride a horse better, but instead of showcasing their equestrian skills, they compete over policies and visions. The non-governmental organization Freedom House considers Mongolia a free country with a political system that safeguards citizens' rights, although it's undeniable that things still need time to improve. Much like taking steady steps across the vast steppes, patience and continuous adjustment are key. Mongolia is divided into 21 provinces, 1 autonomous region, and 1 special city. Ulaanbaatar, the capital, is the hub of economic, cultural, and political activities. However, it's also a place rich in contrasting views, blending modernity with tradition. The skyscrapers can't overshadow the expansive steppes surrounding them, serving as a reminder of the nomadic roots and lifestyle that still exist, even if they're not as common as they once were. Yet, whether amidst towering buildings or snow-capped mountains, the people of Mongolia continue to face challenges like corruption and wealth disparity. The government has implemented various measures to address these issues, but nothing is as easy as herding livestock across the vast pastures. Everything requires time, patience, and meticulous care. 5. Economy. Mongolia is a developing country with an economy primarily based on agriculture. The main driver of economic growth is the extraction of mineral resources, particularly coal and copper. Mongolia is also developing other industries such as textiles, manufacturing, food processing, wood production, pharmaceuticals, and tourism. Agriculture is a vital sector of Mongolia's economy, accounting for about 12% of GDP and providing employment for around 35% of the population. Key products include wheat, potatoes, vegetables, livestock meat, and mutton. So, it's no surprise if you meet a Mongolian and are offered mutton. It's like being invited to enjoy a sandwich in Western countries. This country is rich in natural resources and is often referred to as the new belly button of the earth. Beneath the vast deserts lie copper and uranium mines. Surely, beneath that golden sand, there are not just camels, but also valuable minerals akin to buried treasure. However, Mongolia's economy has experienced ups and downs, with GDP growth rates of 7.89% in 2014, 2.38% in 2015, and a drop to 1.17% in 2016, while the national debt stands at $30 billion, more than double the national GDP. Economists might need to grab their magnifying glasses and head out to the desert to uncover the reasons. But it's clear that not every day is a bright one for Mongolia's economy. The capital, Ulaanbaatar, serves as Mongolia's commercial and international relations center. The city is home to over 30,000 independent businesses, primarily concentrated around the capital. Despite this, the standard of living among the population is quite uneven, with 36% of the population living below the poverty line, earning about $2 a day, while there are super-rich tycoons living in luxury. 6. Interesting facts about Mongolia. A trash-free paradise. It's hard to find a place without trash, yet many have stepped into a paradise where not a single piece of litter can be found. That's right, it's the Mongolian steppe. Just a short jaunt outside the city, and you'll be greeted by endless green carpets of grass, like a giant rug laid out between heaven and earth. You can let your spirits soar with the free-flying birds, galloping on horseback, living the nomadic life. The Mongolians have a high environmental consciousness. They never litter, and after moving their homes, they collect their trash and take it back to the city for proper disposal. This habit is slowly being adopted by tourists, as it seems no one can bear to see the steppe marred by trash. Isn't that wonderful? Even a single blade of grass here wouldn't dare to be out of place, just like you should leave behind beautiful memories without disturbing the space. Many strange customs. For instance, they bathe very little. The Mongolians have a peculiar belief that bathing with water disturbs the energy flow and the spirits. To them, the more someone smells, the luckier they are. Although this belief isn't as widespread as it once was, if you happen to meet someone from Mongolia and catch a whiff of them, don't be surprised. Just consider it a blessing of luck and prosperity. Beautiful women. Hard to date. Mongolia is a place where women are advancing in their careers more than men. Women here are more educated and face less unemployment. The job of herding livestock is traditionally reserved for men. In any bar, pub, or club, female patrons always outnumber the males. However, because women hold a superior social status compared to men, those modern Mongolian women who decide to stay in the city to find jobs after graduation often struggle to find their better half. This situation is common in universities and workplaces. As a result, men in Mongolia have more choices, with 40% of men over 15 being married, while the figure for women is only 32%. This is in stark contrast to countries like China or Vietnam, where gender imbalance can leave millions of men wifeless. If you're considering marriage, becoming a son-in-law in Mongolia is a worthy option. But you'll face a big challenge: how to compete with a slew of talented, beautiful, and independent women. Festivals on frozen lakes. Once a year, Mongolians from all over trek to the border region with Russia, where the deepest lake in the steppe, Lake Koskan, is located. In temperatures plummeting below -40 degrees Celsius and on a frozen lake, they gather to celebrate having survived the harsh winter and prepare for brighter days ahead. On the frozen surface of Lake Kazakh, which is hundreds of meters deep, people engage in all sorts of traditional and modern festivities. Here, you'll see folks ice skating, pulling sledges, and even playing games like stick fighting on the ice. The cold atmosphere might make you feel like a Viking warrior hunting down enemies beneath the ice. The Genghis Khan Monument. The statue of Genghis Khan is everywhere in the capital. Ulaanbaatar, from solemn locations to humble spots, in gurs, yurts. Notably, the statue is often found in the decorative items of many nomads. Despite the country's poverty, Mongolia has invested over $4 million in a grand monument and museum complex. The statue of Genghis Khan stands about 40 meters tall, with a commanding face, riding a horse, looking majestic, facing east, the direction of his birthplace. This clearly shows how much the Mongolians idolize Genghis Khan and the kings of the former empire. It's like stepping into a city where Genghis Khan is watching you from every angle, making it impossible not to pay your respects. The Navy in Mongolia. Mongolia has no sea, yet many can't believe that the Mongolian government still spends money on buying ships, and often uses one of them to transport oil across Lake Vord to Russia. Not only do they have ships, but Mongolia also has a navy with 7 members. The job of these Mongolian naval soldiers is quite simple. They serve as tour guides. It's quite strange that among them, only one person knows how to swim. That's Sailor Patreon. He also plays the role of a lifeguard when tourists get into trouble. Although accidents and fatalities are numerous, he has managed to save 2 people. Some tourists might feel a bit more at ease knowing that only one person in this naval force knows how to swim. Traditional horseback archery. The Mongols still uphold the tradition of horseback riding, archery, and eagle handling, also known as the Sky Leaders of Mongolia. Young girls living on the steppe around the age of 14 to 15 are taught by older men in the family how to ride horses and practice archery. Unlike in Western countries, Mongolians hold the reins with one hand and use smaller stirrups. They don't name each of their horses. Instead, they refer to them by color. Additionally, the archery skills of the warriors here are unmatched. They can hit their targets while galloping on horseback. A standout performance is the backward shooting, Hoi Man Kung, which is considered a speciality of Mongolian warriors. Every year, the people of this country organize the Nadam Festival, a competition featuring the 3 main sports of horse racing, archery, and wrestling. Can you imagine riding a horse, accurately shooting arrows, and maintaining your balance like a master, while the sturdy horses show no signs of fatigue? Nomadic life. Mongolia is currently divided into 2 regions, a modern city rising on the eastern shore, Ulaanbaatar, and the vast nomadic area in the southwest. These expansive grasslands are home to nomads from ancient times to the present, where they graze livestock and move to areas with favorable natural conditions. It is estimated that about 30% of Mongolia's population is nomadic. They survive on the vast steppes by herding livestock. It's fascinating because you can easily imagine yourself as part of a caravan of camels, horses, and sheep moving across the wide plains, where nothing obstructs you except a few clouds and the winds blowing through. Animals in Mongolia. The number of animals in Mongolia exceeds the human population. The number of horses is 13 times that of the people living in this country, and the number of sheep is 35 times that of the people. The horses of this steppe have been domesticated for nearly 3,000 years. The characteristic Mongolian horse, the breeze horse, is considered a rare breed in the world. Horses also hold a significant place in Mongolian culture, and most of them are incredibly resilient and trained under harsh weather conditions. In summer, temperatures can reach up to 29 degrees Celsius, while in winter, they can drop to -30 degrees Celsius. One could say that the horses here are like super resilient warriors, enduring all weather conditions without showing any signs of weakness. Conclusion: Mongolia, with all its pristine beauty and fascinating stories, is truly a hidden gem nestled between Asia and Europe. From the vast steppes to the frozen lake festivals, from enduring nomadic traditions to intriguing tales of legendary monuments, or even navies that can't swim, this country never fails to amaze you, leaving you both astonished and delighted. If you've ever dreamed of living a life as free as a bird in the sky, Mongolia will undoubtedly provide you with that feeling. A trip to Mongolia is not just a journey to explore a country, but an adventure into the mysterious tales that can only be found in this unique place.